All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. May I kindly take your seat? So, Witness, as a matter of routine, I am obliged to remind you once again that you are still on the oath before I hand you over to Madam Chair for us to proceed. Thank you. Madam Chair, nobody witnessed you for us to proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bojang. You're welcome back. Continue and proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Yes, so let me ask you regarding the tax issues for the KMC and the subvention.
Yes.
How much is council supposed to receive every year when it comes to the subvention?
If my memory serves me right, I believe it's 20% of the development budget.
20%.
20 or 25, I'm not sure of it currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have, do you know what the development budget is for 2018?
Of head, I cannot, but the budget is available and it's anybody, because it's a public document, so anybody can have a.
Now, do you know what the budget is for 2019?
Of head, not really, but I know it's around the margin of 400 million, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Now, if you look at your budget and the obligation of government to give you the subvention, do you know how many years they have missed in giving the subvention?
Not of head, but I do remember around 2021 or 2020, 2 million was given. But for me, like I mentioned, if a law is put in place and it says that this is the amount that is supposed to be given, I do believe that the law needs to be followed. So I wouldn't call that subvention in my definition, because it is very, very low compared to what we were supposed to do.
So I'm asking whether you know for any given year that subvention is not received.
Hmm?
Do you know when it was not received?
Yes, I believe when we came in 2018, I believe we didn't receive a subvention. Our first time we didn't receive a subvention. Like I said, because the 2 million, I wouldn't call it subvention.
What do you mean when you say you don't call it subvention?
Yeah, because it's not what is determined by law. Because the law says that we need to get a percentage from the development budget. So that amount we received was not at the ask.
It is also stated that, for instance, your budget or your expenditure, a certain amount or percentage should be spent on development. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I do believe, I think it's 40%, you know?
60%.
60%. Okay, 40, 60. I do.
60%.
Yeah.
Do you know whether that has been met by council?
I cannot say offhand if we have indeed met the 60% development threshold.
I can show.
Because I cannot tell you offhand how much has gone into the how much, but because I know it's budgeted for, but offhand I cannot tell you this is what we have.
So you are part of council, you sit in council meetings.
Yes.
Have any given point in time at any year that you've evaluated at council level your expenditure and to see whether in fact you've met the threshold of the 60%?
Not to my knowledge per se, but when you look at the developments we have done, for example.
No, by looking at
No, what I'm saying, council, is that I cannot tell you offhand this is specifically how much we have spent, but I can tell you this and this and this is what we have done.
No.
So that's what I'm saying.
There's a requirement, like you said earlier. If there's a requirement by an act or law, it has to.
Yes.
That this came from you, and you're right in that.
Yeah.
So the Finance and Audit Act, I believe on page 5, will tell you about the responsibility in relation to the 60%.
Can I be provided with it, please? If you don't mind.
It's a public document, but I'm not sure where they have a copy here. Do we have a copy of the Finance and Audit Act? Field 25. Where you have, if you turn to budgetary powers and procedure, page 10, 11. 10 is budgetary powers and procedures.
Page 10 and 11, huh?
Yes, so the budgetary powers and procedure. Are you there?
Yeah, page 9.
Okay, probably page 9 on that. So you will see subsequent 7 says a council shall allocate at least.
Yes. No, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying what you're saying, that we should allocate that amount. So what I'm saying now is that, do I think that we have gone above the threshold? Yes, but you ask how if we have given that amount. I say I cannot officially say how much we have given.
Okay, you are trying to anticipate my question.
Okay.
So let me just answer it first and then.
Okay, then I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. A council shall allocate at least 60% of the budget for development activities, excluding the recurrent cost of those activities. So it's a law, like you said, it is provided for. So do you see this as a mandatory provision?
Yes, it is mandatory.
Okay. Now, how would we know if council had met this requirement?
I do believe that the Finance and Accounts Department of Council should be able to tell how much money has come in and how much we have expenditure. True. Based on our activities and what we have done. True. But I personally, at my personal level, I do believe we have met that 60%, considering the projects we have done and development we have done within the wards.
Now let's work with facts. It's better than speculation. Yeah. Because if I ask you what the base of your belief, you would not be able to substantiate it at the level of 60% minimum standard.
Yes, as I mentioned.
Good. So we keep it facts. It's much clearer. So the 60% minimum standard or requirement, going by the act, you have said clearly, it is true. The finance should really come and fix it. Now at council level, in your meetings, in your general meeting and all that, how do you make sure that this 60% minimum standard has been met?
What we do is that when the budget is drawn, and every aspect of council brings in their own contribution to the budget, then the budget is brought to general council and it includes this developmental perspective of it. Once that's done, we also do an assessment of what we have done in the last year, to see if we have reached the 60% quota. Was that done over the years? We have spoken about it in our general council sittings, and councillors have raised the issue that this 60% needs to go to the was it to the community. Yes or no? like I mentioned, I cannot, and you've mentioned, I cannot substantiate that now based on the fact that we don't have the documentation.
No, what I mean is if you give evidence without oral evidence, without having to rely on documentary evidence in the case of budgets, like you said, it has to be supported by documentary evidence. Yes. So therefore, with the lack of documentary evidence, someone can just say, for instance, we have met the requirement. In fact, we had 78 or 80% when it comes to development. But if without documentary evidence, it may go to no issue.
Yes, it may be difficult.
Yes. So now I'm asking about the documentary evidence. So now you have talked about it in the council. Have you had documentary evidence to show that you have met the requirement of 60%?
At the moment, I cannot say.
You cannot say. Since 2018, you were in council, you cannot say.
No, 2019.
Yes.
2019, for example, I would want to say that we have met the 60%.
Can you provide the commission with documentary evidence?
Unless if I check with the general council.
Unless you check.
Yes. Because I don't know.
2020?
Again, unless I check.
2021? The same?
Yeah.
Same with 2022 as well?
Yes, definitely.
And the last 2023. Now, have you taken part in any form of assessment at council's level in relation to finding out whether your expenditure 60% minimum is in line with development?
No, I have not taken part in any assessment.
Why is that?
Because I'm not part of any committee that deals with financing of the council.
No.
So I will believe that anybody who will be able to do that has to be mandated by a committee, for example, or by general council to say that we need you to do so and so assessment.
But you're part of general council. It can be raised. These issues can be raised. If the committees don't come up with these figures, the council should be interested to know 60% of our money minimum is going to development. I
do believe this is why we have committees, and we have mandated committees with our power to do that. So even if we don't do it personally, the committees have the mandate to do it. So
have the committees been doing that?
I cannot say because I don't attend their meetings, but I do know that they do give reports to general council. But it's been 7 years. It will be difficult to remember what every committee has given at a report.
Which committee will be responsible for this?
I believe the accounts committee will be responsible, and the finance committee.
Have they ever submitted any report?
Yeah, just last week they also submitted a report to general council.
No, have they ever submitted reports along these lines in relation to the expenditure heads for this?
I have attended a lot of general councils. I can't remember offhand what every committee has. Yes.
If you had taken part in any council meeting, this is a priority.
Mm-hmm.
The minimum standard, like you said, is mandatory.
Yeah.
And so every councillor, every person that takes part in council meetings must make sure that these issues are being addressed and are being met. So that if any person has taken part in deliberations of this nature and evidence is being put forward, then you would be in a position to say, yes, we made it as a matter of priority and we addressed this issue. And then, yes, council have met the 60%. And this is the evidence. It's not the case.
Council, no, it is not the case because, like I mentioned, we have over 9 committees, I believe, at council, and we have been at council since 2018.
Yes.
So every committee at least gives reports, not just one, but multiple reports. So through these reports, these issues will be raised, and I am sure it was raised.
Do you have a sense of that?
I don't have it here, but we can check through the minutes because every general council has minutes. And even, for example, the committee itself might sit over it, so they have minutes. We can definitely check through the minutes. But I am telling you that the priority and development of our municipality is a cornerstone of the Cardiff Municipal Council.
If you are given time to provide evidence, would you be able to do that?
I will do the best I can to provide.
Okay, please write it down. Yeah. We would need evidence of the 60% minimum requirement for development expenditures, if you have any.
And what?
This just that for every year, so 2018.
From 2018 to 2023, huh?
Okay. Now, another issue is in relation to internal audit reports. Are you familiar with internal audit reports from 2018? Have they been addressed? Have you received internal reports at council level, and do you know where they have been addressed?
Internal reports.
Internal audit reports.
Internal audit reports.
Yes.
No, I have not.
Why is that?
Because I mentioned again, I'm not the one it should be addressed.
No, you're missing the point. When I say you, I mean at council level.
Okay, as a general counsel.
Yes.
We had the issue of an internal auditor. I believe we had Fofana,
Yes.
who was in internal auditor. At some point, Fofana left. So since Fofana left, I believe in 2018 or 2019, we haven't had an internal auditor until recently when Koli was appointed. So we have had an issue of internal auditors, and I think it also provides a basis of lapses, especially when it comes to how local governments run in the Gambia. Because, for example, mayors or the chairpersons are not given the ability to appoint their own staff. So it takes a long time, and there's a lot of bureaucracy. So because we couldn't appoint an internal auditor, some people had to step in from the office who might not have had the expertise to accomplish the missions that are given to them. So I believe going forward, and I think there are a lot of, like I mentioned the last time I was here, there's a lot of constitutional reforms that need to be done, especially when it comes to local governance. Because even for example, when we talk about local government service commission, one time I remember the chairman was from Asise, then I didn't, we don't know who the chairman was. So it makes it very difficult. Yeah.
To the issue that is being discussed now on the issue of was where the internal during this period that is under review, did the council sit over some of these internal audit reports?
I'm saying we didn't have an internal auditor from 2019.
What we are saying, we are asking pursuant to the fact that we are in receipt of internal audit reports.
I can't hear it clearly.
I said we are asking pursuant to the fact that we have internal audit reports.
Okay.
That has been submitted.
Okay.
To council. So the question is, during the course of your activities at the level of council, did you have the opportunity of sitting over these reports?
The general counsel, I believe, should or would have, but I don't.
That is the question I'm asking.
Are you speaking of me personally or?
To you as a member of council. When we speak to you, we are not speaking personally as KEMO BOJANG.
All right.
We are speaking to you as a member of council. We are dealing with you in your capacity as a person representing a group of people for their interests in the council.
Right.
And for whatever question we ask you is in relation to that fact and not to your personal capacity.
Okay, granted.
Right? So the question is, did you recall discussing some of these audit reports at the level of council?
Yes.
Some of the issues that have been raised?
I remember Fofana once submitted a report and he presented it at the general council.
How often did the council deal with some of this?
No, when it comes to the implementation.
No. The dealing with the report, not the implementation. Because these reports are submitted to council. Yes,
like I mentioned, I remember there were times that Fofana did submit a report to general council and presented.
Council members, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, I asked that question because we have internal audit reports here. We have the one dated the 14th of March 2022. It says internal audit inspection on valid project period 1st January to 31st December 2021. Has this issue been dealt with? Do you know?
What is the issue at hand? Because when you read it's very difficult for me to know what it is. If you maybe read in depth, I might.
It says internal audit report. The date is 14th of March 2022. The subject matter is audit inspection on valid project covering the period 1st January to 31st of December 2021. My question is, have you at any point in time, at council level, discussed these issues regarding the audit reports?
It depends because in 2022, at some point I was away, so I'm not sure if yeah.
Have you been present at any point in council where you have discussed internal reports?
Well, yes, I have been present in council when internal reports were discussed. But for this specific one, I can't remember.
So which one can you recall?
No, like I mentioned, when Fofana, no, I can't recall everything or the report itself, but I do remember that there were internal report presentations at General Council.
Do you recall any instance that you have taken part in deliberations with respect to issues raised by the audit reports?
At General Council level, yes.
Which one is that?
Like I mentioned, in 2019 or 2020, I'm not sure.
Can you evaluate the minutes of the meetings?
I'll have to ask.
Yes, write it down. We will call you back. Please write it down. The minutes of the meeting for those deliberations and the internal audit report in particular that was discussed at that meeting.
Internal audit report for which year?
For any from
between 2018
to 2023. Yeah, and the minutes of the meetings as well.
The minutes?
Yes. To show evidence of deliberation of issues raised in the area. Now, this report that I've read to you, there are some findings. Let me just read out one or two. It says total summary of sales and deposits from the period January to December 2021. Says the overall total sales or collections by the 19 ward secretaries is $14,837,945. The overall total deposits receipts by the ward secretaries is $13,156,170. And there was a variance on shortages of $1,681,775. Were you aware at any point in time regarding these shortages?
Not really, not to my knowledge. I can't remember.
Not to your knowledge.
Yeah.
Do you know whether this report or these issues were discussed at council's level?
I can't remember fully. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it itemizes the various wards and the shortages. You will see, for example, Serapna Batres, there was one Maria Madiba and Fadu Jane as the ward secretary plans yet to be settled, $140,400. Bakau Newtown, balance $5,290. You have Latukunda Savage, balance of $12,400. The list goes on. Porto, balance to be settled $30,613. Challenging South, balance to be settled $312,000, and the list goes on. Do you not think this is very important? These are things that council should really.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
No, it is important, and I think council will has addressed in a way. Yeah. But I am saying that I can't remember this audit report. But there have been issues of malpractice at the at the Mbali project.
Yeah.
And even I have mentioned at General Council that one, I do believe that the potential for the Mbali project is underestimated. I believe that this is one of the greatest projects that have happened in this country. But I do believe. No, let me
hear me out. Hear me out. That's not the issue. That's in fact in doubt.
No, I'm coming to the point you asked the question. So I'm answering that question.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say here is that I do believe that one, we are getting undervaluation of the amount that we are supposed to receive. Two, I do believe that mapping still needs to be done because there are a lot of households and probably even some of you here, if I ask you, maybe those who live in KMC, the Mbali trucks don't come to your houses.
Now the issue here is we have monies that are outstanding.
Yeah.
And we want to know what council had done in recovering those monies. And if there's any, you can tell us. If you don't know, then the answer would be you don't know whether council have taken steps in recovering these monies.
One of the few I can remember, or one that came to my mind was for Kololi, and I do remember that the individuals were asked to pay back the money, and I do believe they paid the money. But what happens is that council will delegate these issues to the committees responsible. For example, the Mbalit committee or the finance and audit committee or finance committee, sorry, to function and give a report back to council. So I do remember that the Kololi issue, it was settled and then the monies were paid back.
Do you have evidence of that?
I do remember it was said at General Council.
No, but do you have evidence?
Personally, I don't. Yeah.
Then we'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and again, for some of the things that facts that you want to establish, we would be very grateful if you have evidence of it. No. So I will also read you again the entire audit report, 24th of June 2021, says quarterly report 1st January to 31st of March 2021. Do you know or do you recall where this audit report had been dealt with at council level?
I don't know.
You can't recall.
Yes, I can't.
Do you think it's important to deal with these audit reports?
Oh yeah, audit reports are important to deal.
If council had dealt with these reports, would you have known as a member of council?
Probably, but I do believe that audit reports are usually.
Would you have known if council had dealt with these reports?
Not really, or not per se.
Why?
Like I mentioned, in as much as they're important, everybody has responsibilities. If you ask me about young people issues and issues that are affecting the municipality, yes, I am, and I'm very genuine about it. Yeah.
The oversight function of council over these committees.
Yeah.
You don't think they have oversight function?
They do have oversight functions, and council is the legislative arm of the municipal government, and one of our functions is oversight. And I do believe that we have done. But what I'm saying is that I am not present at every sitting based on situations sometimes beyond my control. But yeah.
Mr. Bojang, I think you misunderstood the question. The question is that if these reports were dealt with, would you be in a position to know as member of council?
Yes, like.
Of course, it is
Sorry about
not only you may not be able to be present in all the meetings, right? But you do understand and you do appreciate that the audit is directly under the council, right?
Yes, it's answerable, yeah.
As for law, it's not even governed by the finance department, whatever. So whatever they do, they report and they copy to the finance department. They report to the council and they copy to the finance department.
Yeah, I didn't say they report to finance department. Yeah.
I am just trying to elaborate for you to understand.
I thought it was a question. I apologize.
Explain to you that as a member of council, would you have been in a position to know whether these matters have been dealt with?
Madam Chair.
That is the question.
Yes, I believe I've answered that.
We have taken cognizance of the fact that not every report you might be present in its deliberation. Yeah. But for the ones that have been put to you, those are the direct answers we want.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, I think I had answered the question, but council is asking the same question in different ways. Because he asked me about, let me, yes. Can I? Yes, no. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have what I'm saying is that I have answered the question. He asked me if these reports were presented at council. I said yes. He asked me if I can remember any situation. I did make mention of the Kololi one.
Yes, but he is putting across to you some different scenarios that are being raised from different reports. Yeah, I believe. So if it is audit issue, he can raise because there are so many audit reports. So for the ones that can report being in council and those being deliberated upon, you understand? If you can recall, you say you can report. If you can recall, recall attending the deliberation on those reports.
No problem.
And at the time it was submitted to council.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, you may proceed.
Yes. Let me give you one or two cases also with respect to the audit report dated the 24th of June 2021, covering the period 1st January to 31st March 2021, where it says, for instance, on page, well, there is no number of the pages, but Serapla Market, it says Market Master is Musafar. The total number of ticket books collected for the period is 149 packets of ticket books, valued at $1,490,000. Now, the total amount of tickets sold is 125. Then the value is 1,250,000. Now, the total remaining balance of tickets books in use, 24 packets. And the amount is 240,000. And this is the amount that is not accounted for.
Okay.
The second one is in relation to Market Masters Seku 5. With respect to having total number of permanent canteens 484, total amount of canteen payments 530,000. Now the total number of canteens in areas 145 canteens. Total amount of areas $291,000. And so when you look at the market alone, for instance, the Latino market as well, they have 62 packet of ticket books. The value is 620,000. Now, 58 packet, packets of ticket books, which value is 580, were sold. Now, the balance remaining is about 4 packets, $40,000. So the list goes on. There are so many instances where tickets were issued, and not all the tickets would be accounted for. Do you understand? And I believe this should be an interest of the General Counsel. Do you not think so?
It is it should, and I believe it is. And yeah.
Okay. Have this issue been dealt with? Because there are witnesses that appeared here for you, and the answer is no. It has not been dealt with. Now, if your answer is yes, then we will need evidence of that these issues being addressed.
One thing I know is that we have dealt with issues at a general level. I cannot specifically mention instances, but I know that we have dealt with issues at general level when it comes to markets and ticketing, for example.
So you don't know where this issue has been dealt with?
This specific issue, not really, but I know that we have dealt with
Given
issues.
time, would you be able to tell us whether
I doubt, because I'm not a member of the markets committee. Two,
by council, not the committee. Let me assist you in this. So the committees are answerable to council.
Yes.
So they report to council. Even if a councillor is not a member of a particular committee, but the deliberations, the issues therein are issues of concern to council.
Yeah.
And so when they are reported to council, you would be in a position to add, to contribute and
definitely, I agree entirely.
So that is the issue I have now. Whether they have been forwarded to council, whether council have taken any step. If the answer is in affirmative, if it is yes, what are the steps taken?
Yes, yeah. So can I?
Yes.
So it will be difficult for me to say specifically what steps have been taken, but I do know that issues of market tickets have been raised at council, and in fact, Councillor Bio at some point brought specimens to General Council to say that there were discrepancies in tickets and and receipts. So I do believe that, and I do acknowledge that these issues were dealt.
Yeah, I think for us to speed up on this, it's just important to note it and check whether
I can get the
step.
Okay. Which is reasonable.
So that when we come back next, you will be able to explain whether council took steps.
Council, can you please give me the specifications so I can write it down?
Just check. He has already given you. He said the reports from 2018 to 2023, the issues that have been raised in internal reports.
I've already written.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you check on that, you will be able to see minutes of council
No problem.
dealing with some of these issues if steps were taken. We will proceed, council. Thank you.
We also have the internal audit report. The date is 28th of April 2023 for the year ended January to December 2022. It says the internal audit department has embarked on various audit exercises for the year ended 2022. The draft audit report was sent to the office of the Deputy Chief Executive Officer for management response since the 28th of December 2022. We are here to submit the final audit report January to December 2022. It was addressed to the Lord Mayor's office. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer is copied. Accounts and audit committees are copied. Do you know whether these reports as well were addressed at council's level?
I can't remember specifically.
If you're given time, would you be able to?
Yes, as per this, what I've meant.
Yes. Oh. Now, the other issue as well is in relation to your statement. Now, the expenditure at council. What do you know about the authority for expenditure? Who has the authority to approve expenditure?
The CEO is the Chief Accounting Officer of council.
Okay.
Yeah.
The CEO has the ultimate authority?
I do believe.
You do believe? Does the mayor have expenditure powers?
No, not to my knowledge.
You don't know?
No, I said not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. How about council itself?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you know about the threshold for approving expenditure?
Not offhand.
You don't know about the threshold?
Not of head currently, can't.
Not of head, but do you know whether it exists?
Yes, I do believe there's a threshold.
A threshold about what? What do you understand about the threshold?
I do believe that. I'm not sure if it's if if something goes beyond 500,000 also, it has to come to general council. So we will,
If something goes beyond
500,000, if I'm not mistaken, it has to come to general council. So council will deliberate.
what authority is that? Do you know the authority that?
Not really.
You have no idea. Okay, let me assist you in that. Page 19 of the financial manual. Are you familiar with the financial manual?
No, I am not. But as you are reading, I can go through.
So you're not. Okay, please turn to page 19. Can the witness be avail the financial manual for legal assessment? That appears to be the Finance and Audit Act 2004. Is that what you have?
Yes. Okay.
Sabuya,
Yes.
the books of accounts, especially the laws that are guiding the council, I think council should be very much interested in familiarizing themselves with the Finance and Audit Act, the financial manual, because that is the only way you can hold the people that work in the council accountable. Is that not the case?
Yeah, which is a reasonable position.
Yes. So on page 19, section 305, it says authority for expenditure. Do you see that?
Yes.
It says the authority to incur expenditure is vested in council through budget approval. Now, the finance director shall not make any payment nor accept any charge in the accounts unless authorized by the chief executive and in accordance with the monetary thresholds approved by each council. Now, as regard the monetary threshold, it should be noted that up to a given amount, the CEO can approve and incur expenditure without reference to the chairman or mayor of the council. Now, up to a certain amount, the CEO is required to consult and seek the clearance from the chairman or mayor, as the case may be. Beyond a given amount, the CEO is required to refer such expenditure to council to seek approval.
Yeah.
Now, what do you understand of this?
Just like what I mentioned that I do believe that there needs to be a threshold, and I mentioned an amount of at least 500,000. That's if my memory serves me well. That it will come to council.
You have served since 2018.
Yes, council.
You should be very familiar with the monetary threshold of council.
Notwithstanding, but I do believe that as humans also there are lapses, and you can't remember everything offhand.
Okay, if you say it's lapses,
Yeah.
so that's then I can argue for it. But my point now is, what do you have this threshold in council?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I do believe it's over 500,000.
Over 500,000. So
Yeah.
who came up with this figure?
General council, I believe.
General council. Do you have any resolution for this?
Unless I write it down and
Just write it down.
Yeah.
Are you saying it is a resolution? Are you saying it is true a resolution?
I want to believe so.
You want to believe, but you're not sure.
No, but I'll have to cross check.
You'll find out.
Yes.
Now, does the mayor approve payment?
No, mayor doesn't approve.
Why is that? The manual says he has to.
No, the manual says it's the executive officer, the chief executive.
Please read it again.
Yeah, it says that the authority to incur expenditure is vested in council through budget approval. The finance director shall not make any payments nor accept any charge in this account unless authorized by the executive officer.
Please proceed.
Yeah, the chief executive, and in accordance with the monetary threshold approved by each council.
Yes.
As regard the monetary threshold, it should be noted that up to a given amount, the CEO can approve and incur expenditure without reference to the chairman or the mayor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Then up to a certain amount, the CEO is required to consult and seek clearance from the chairman mayor. Beyond a given amount, the CEO is required to refer such expenditure to council to seek approval.
So do you now understand that there are three stages of approvals for expenditure? The first is the CEO.
Yeah, but then it says they have to ask for clearance, consult consult and seek clearance, but the approval has to come from the CEO. From my understanding of what.
Let me go by the words clearance, seeking clearance, and consult. Maybe it will be helpful. So, do they seek clearance for expenditure when up to a given amount from the mail?
I cannot say.
You don't know.
Yes, but I know that they do seek clearance from General Counsel when we are going into, for example, projects or when we are going into contract.
So the $500,000 that you're talking about, who gives the clearance?
General Counsel.
General Counsel.
Yes.
And not the mayor.
No.
Now, we have had evidence to the contrary. The finance directors testified.
Yeah.
They said clearly it's the mayor who gave clearance.
Well, okay, maybe that's based on that, because I mean, they are the experts. So if they say that, but based on my understanding and that's what I'm speaking of.
You see,
Yeah.
when we serve in public offices,
Yeah.
so we don't have that understanding as being the binding the binding position in relation to how it should work or what obtains. I believe that council in general and whosoever serves in council must know what obtains.
And I am saying based on what I know.
Yeah. So must know what obtains. So for every councillor who serves in council must know so that you hold those responsible accountable. So for instance, if we put based on what we think or believe without recourse to the laws that bind us, then you can't hold anybody accountable.
Yeah, but I don't believe this is what I believe or what I think. I think it's what I understand from what the section say. So it's not a belief, but it's
because I'm now telling you that those who testify, the finance directors, they have explained clearly.
Yeah,
but the mayor would approve up to if it's over $500,000, you must see clearance from the mayor. So if a councillor does not know that, for instance, or any councillor does not know that at council level, then you can't hold those people responsible. So for instance, if a CEO approves a payment of $501,000, it will be on their accounts.
Yeah.
And if that happens, how do you hold them accountable?
But I have mentioned here that payments beyond 500,000 are supposed to come to the General Counsel. So if any CEO approves a payment more than 501, I will hold you accountable and say that you didn't complete.
Now I'm telling you that's not the case. I'm telling you you're wrong. I'm now telling you that the procedure council level is $500,000 is the mayor approves, not council. Well, it has been backed up by evidence from the finance directors.
Well, based on my understanding and based on my experience at council, payments beyond 500,000 came to General Counsel.
Exactly. So that was the thing at KMC, and it is clearly in evidence. Now, I asked that question because, for instance, if payments are to be effected, now who do you write to?
As a councillor, I will write to the mayor, and the mayor will minute it to the CEO, and then the CEO will minute it to finance director, and then the payment is because I am not a member of the council staff. I am under the general council, which is headed by the chairman or the mayor.
Okay. Are you familiar with the procurement act and regulations?
Not really, but I do know we have a procurement, but that they procure.
But you're not familiar with the procurement act and regulation?
No, the act.
So if procurement rules and regulations are flouted, how will council address these issues when councillors are not familiar with the act?
Well, I am not the only councillor at council, so we have over 26 of us.
Is it important as a councillor to be familiar with the procurement and regulations and act?
It is important to familiarize yourself with all materials that will enhance your job.
Now I have vouchers here that are in your name.
Yes.
I have, for instance, PV 210783. I also have PV 211194, PV 201620, PV 202018, PV 210985. These are payments made to you in your name.
Yeah.
Or let me say, it appears they are payment made to you in your name. So let me forward this to you. Please confirm, go through those vouchers and confirm whether they are payments that you have received in your capacity as a nominated councillor.
Yes.
All of them?
This one, yes. Let me go through that. Yes.
Thank you. Let me have that.
How can I have one?
We apply tender the following vouchers, 5 in number. The first is PV 210985. It's a payment made to the witness KEMO BOJANG. The amount is $235,800. The date is 30th of April 2021. The second one is PV 202018. The date is 28th of December 2020. The amount is $26,500 paid to the witness in KEMO BOJANG with the check number 00189119. The third is PV 201620. The date is 30th of October 2020. The amount is $15,000. The payment is made to the witness, KEMO BOJANG. The fourth is voucher number 211119. The amount is $10,000 and the payment is made to the witness KEMO BOJANG. The fifth one is voucher number 210783 written pen. The date is 12th of April 2021. The amount is $150,000 paid to the witness, KEMO BOJANG, all to be admitted into evidence and marked accordingly. The documents are identified by the witness as payments he had received.
The following are payment vouchers and they are admitted as follows. Voucher number PV 211194 dated 27th of May 2021. Payment voucher dated the 12th of April 2021 with PV number PV 210783. Payment voucher dated 30th of October 2020 with voucher number PV 201620. Payment voucher dated the 28th of December 2020 with voucher number PV 202018. And the last payment voucher is dated 30th of April 2021 with voucher number PV 210985. These vouchers are admitted in a bundle as exhibit in evidence and they are marked as LVC/KB/KMC/004.
That's the commission cases. Now, let's start with PV 210985. I will ask it to be given all the vouchers. So we will start with PV 210985, the one dated 30th of April 2021.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yes.
What is that payment for?
This was a project that we did for rehabilitation of football fields within the Carnegie Municipal Council.
Why was the amount paid to you directly?
I have no idea. All I did was I wrote a request and I submitted it, and then I went to follow up, and I was told that the check was in my name.
What do you mean you have no idea?
No, I mean, I can't say why it was paid in my name.
But you made the request.
Yes, I did make the
Did
request.
you make the request to be paid with money, or you made the request for the money to be paid to a contractor or someone else?
No, like it says that I write to request for the purchase of goalposts and nets for Bakote.
You are reading the request?
Yes.
Okay. What is the date of the request?
The request was 28 April.
Who wrote the request?
I wrote the request.
Who did you address it to?
I addressed it to the Lord Mayor.
And the heading?
It says the request for goalposts and nets.
Okay, please read it.
Yes, it says that I write to request for the purchase of goalposts and nets for Bakote, Talinding, Charles Jau, and Kotukware. Nets and also nets from Number One Sports Shop. So I said the total amount of this phase is 235,800, and I'm counting on your usual support and approval.
Yes, so you know why it is paid to you, because you requested for payment, Mr.
Well, no, I requested for goalposts and nets, as it is said here. Request for goalposts and nets. Yeah.
What you requested for the amount is there.
Yes.
You know what you were requesting for.
Yes.
And the money is to be paid to you.
No, because there's an invoice from the contractor there.
There is an
invoice from the contractor.
Invoice from the contractor.
Yes.
How much is the invoice?
No, it's 179,800.
Let me see. Was the money to be paid to the contractor or to you?
No, 179,800 is to be paid to the contractor. Then the 9,500 is what I purchased the nets from Number One Sports Shop.
So the money was to be paid to the contractor?
Yes.
Who paid it to the contractor?
I paid it to the contractor.
Yes, that's my point. You were paid, and you paid whosoever had to pay.
Yeah, but you asked why was it in my name. So I'm saying that I didn't ask anybody to put it in my name. All I did was I requested for goalposts and nets to be delivered to the communities, and then the request was put in my name.
What you have as invoice doesn't have the heading or the stamp of any company or any business entity, correct?
Yes, because it's a local demand.
Do you know any contractor that is supposed to be given public fund or should be registered with GPA?
Yes.
So why did you not verify before you have this invoice?
Well, because I had asked for through I had asked for people who could work on goalposts, because, like I mentioned, we had the mayor's store, and when we went around, the recreational facilities were very high on the priority list.
Yes.
So when I came to council, I made a request for a goalpost, and I was directed to George Thier, and I'm told that when it comes to standard goalposts, he was one of the best in the country. So I contacted him. Before then, I had never met him, and I was.
Did you verify that information? Did you verify that information?
Yeah, well, because he had told me where he had worked on goalposts before, and I had seen them.
But you are not the authority to grant contracts.
Yes.
So, in fact, that would not be your job to do. Do you understand that?
Okay.
It would not be your job to even talk to a contractor as a councillor. It would be totally wrong.
I'm not sure of that. Is there any law that says that we cannot speak to contractors?
Yes. The procurement laws say clearly that the CEO and the contracts committee, these are the organs, and there's a procurement unit.
No, what I mean is does it say that councillors cannot speak to contractors?
Do you think you have those powers to speak to contractors?
No, I'm not saying that. But when you say it's wrong, I would also just like to know, so as for the sake of best practice.
So the law wouldn't tell you that A and B and C cannot talk to the contractors. The law will tell you who has the authority. And so whosoever is not listed does not have the authority to do that. Do you understand? It's one aspect. The other aspect is, you know, that contractors must be registered with GPBA. Claire, you had said. Did you verify where this contract is in place of the GPA?
I believe yes.
Can you provide, please write it down, provide the GPA registration.
Okay.
What method of procurement did you use in this case?
What do you mean, what method of procurement?
I mean, it's procurement. There are methods of procurement. It's either you've used open tender or request for quotation, or it's a single source procurement. There has to be, for every procurement, the law says you must follow strictly the rules regarding the procurement.
Council, like I said, I made a request to council and I attached the invoice I had from George, and then the check was presented.
Yes, but I'm saying now that you are giving them money, we will come to that later. Now I'm asking, what is the method of procurement that you have used? If you look at the financial manual, turn to page 38. You have chapter 6, page 38, talks about procurement and tender procedures for goods, works, and services.
Chapter,
what are you there?
Is it this document?
Page 38. The financial and accounting manual.
Yeah.
It says local government procurement procedures should be done strictly in accordance with the Public Procurement Act and its attendant regulations and any subsequent amendments to the Act. All councils' purchase of goods, works, and services shall comply with the thresholds prescribed in the DP Regulations 203. Do you see this?
Yeah.
That the all procurement should follow the procurement regulations. Do you confirm that?
Yes.
Did you follow any?
Unless I read and know which one I followed, if that's acceptable.
Okay, so you don't know as at the time you incur this you contacted this partner, you don't know whether you followed any of the methods.
I requested for an invoice.
No, I'm asking. Listen, before even spending $1 of public funds, you agree it's public funds?
Yes, it is good.
Before spending $1 of public funds, you must meet procurement requirements. That's what the law says. Now, it is not after you have spent the money. So the idea is, as at the time you have this invoice, you must have known the procurement you have followed. Did that report you at the time?
No.
Now, other issue is it normal for payments to be made to councillors?
I cannot say, because all we do is we write request, and then when we write request, then it is processed.
Mr. Bojang, that would be worrying.
Yeah.
Because if those that are supposed to really hold to count, those that are responsible for expenditure, do not know.
No, you said is it normal? Yeah.
Payments to be made directly to councillors.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, to be honest. Okay. Because in the end it's about making sure that what is being budgeted for is delivered. And making sure that those who are supposed to have the service or the goods, get the service or good.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is wrong or illegal. So I believe it is normal.
You believe it's normal?
Yes.
And what law are you relying on?
I don't think there's also a law that says that councillors cannot be paid unless you show.
Now let's look at what the First Amendment says about expenditure.
Now, what page, please?
I will assist you. Just hold on a minute. Page 29. But if you start with 28, it talks about payments and expenditure. It says types of payments.
Yeah.
The payments and expenditure of council shall be categorized in two, namely development or non-recurrent expenditure and operating cost or recurrent cost. Now the development or non-recurrent expenditure, and the list goes on. So operating or recurrent cost, the list is there. Page 29, it talks about the classification of payment. It says finance staff must exercise great care to ensure that payments are correctly classified into expenditure accounts using appropriate codes. When in doubt, corrections clarification should be sought from the Director of Finance. And the different type of the expenditure, you have payment of personal emoluments, 2, payment of salaries and wages.
Yeah.
You turn to page 32 on drawn salaries and wages.
Page 32. Okay.
Council monthly and civil allowances.
Sorry, page 32. Which one? Wages, right?
Yes, on drawn salaries and wages.
Page 31.
Sub 3, council monthly and certain allowances. 33, staff allowances and other payments.
33, yeah. Other payments.
Purchases and supplies, office expenses, bank charges and interest, minor works. Now, where do you fall in? Where do you fall in? Councillors being paid money.
No, what I'm saying here is, council, that all I'm saying that I don't believe it is illegal for councillors to be paid.
We're now examining whether you were right or wrong. Now, these are the different type of payments we have. As you know, you have said you are not familiar with the financial manual.
Yeah.
Now try to assist you regarding payments that are classified clearly and to see for every payment it falls under a certain category.
Yeah.
It's like lawful payments. Payments that are lawful. Do you understand? So for every payment, it falls under a certain category. If it is salary, it is taken care of by the financial manual. If it is wages, it is taken care of by the financial manual. If it is allowances for councillors, it's clearly spelled out. If it's for minor works, it's clearly spelled out. So where do you fall in? Money is paid to you.
It will fall under development and non-recurring expenditure.
Okay, please guide us to the.
Yeah, because it says that these are.
Guide us to the page.
Page 28.
Page 28.
Yeah.
No, see, I am. Go to page 29, classification of payments. That is where you have the different type of payments. Page 29. You have classification of payment, the different type of payments that are lawful for country. Do you understand?
No, I think I don't. It's either I don't understand or I am confused a little bit. Yeah, because from my understanding, the payment will fall under development and non-recurring expenditure. Because this is additional and improvement of extension of building, civil works, and the purchase of replacement, of vehicles, and all of that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So then, if it is under that, then yeah. Huh?
I'm with you.
Yes. So I don't believe then it is under the classification of payments.
Now wait a minute. Let me help you here again.
Okay.
There are different type of payments that council can lawfully execute. So, for instance, if salaries are to be paid, you will find on page 29 payment of salaries and wages. Now, let me give you an example. It tells you the process. It says the salaries and wages of employees of council should be prepared monthly by the designated accounts clerk by the 20th of each month, and the payroll should contain the following. It tells you before a dollar is spent on this, it tells you the process to be followed, who is to be paid, and how they are to be paid. Do you understand? The list goes on. If you turn to page 31, it tells about wages. Council may engage temporary staff on a day-to-day basis as the need arise. The following procedure should be adopted on payment of wages to temporary staffs. Do you see that?
So I think it will fall under purchases and supplies.
Purchases and supplies.
Yeah.
On page
34.
34.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says. It says purchases and supplies cover all stores items such as fuel, spare parts, stationery, etc. The procurement of these items should be in accordance with the GPA Act. You see?
Yeah.
Upon receipt of the invoice or the bill, the accounts clerk will match in with the copies of purchase or goods received, notes, and statement of accounts as applicable. Now, the accounts clerk will check the arithmetical accuracy of the documents and submit them to the Director of Finance for approval. After the document has been approved by the for payment, the accounts clerk will then prepare a payment voucher and process it the usual way. Have you followed these steps?
My responsibility.
No, why the steps follow?
Huh?
Where the steps follow?
It is not my responsibility to follow these steps.
That's not the question.
No, Council, can I please just, because I just
come with that. You will come with that. But the question first has to be answered, and then your comments can come later. Where this followed?
I cannot say if these steps were followed, but from my perspective and from my responsibility, what I did was that I made sure that George was qualified to do the job.
Yes.
2, that he had a GBPA certificate.
Yes.
And thirdly, that he could deliver.
Yes.
And I did that. I wrote the request. It is up to the administration and the accounts as set by law that are supposed to make sure that all the other things are in place.
So, yeah, Mr. Bojang, the Director of Finance should not have approved this payment.
Exactly.
The mayor should not have approved this payment. The CEO should not have approved this payment. No one should have approved this payment. So we are not really excluding the responsibilities for those that are supposed to be responsible and to know better. But in the same vein as well, for a councillor who has the oversight function to make sure that all payments are following due process, should also make sure that every dollar is accounted for properly.
Which is right.
Now, yes. So which you failed to do.
I didn't fail to do it.
Now,
because what I did was not wrong. What I'm saying here, in as much as I do agree that there are best practices, but it doesn't also mean that just because I was added to the trail of payment doesn't mean that what happened is wrong. Because even when you look at the minor works and minor repairs, because like I mentioned, I'm not okay with the manual, but once I began reading, the minor works also, what happened here falls under the minor works. So what I'm saying here is that in as much as I do agree with you that we need to look out for best practices, and if I had known, I would have made sure that I told them that don't put this in my name.
yes.
But notwithstanding, I don't believe that it is wrong. But yes, so not being best practice doesn't mean it's illegal.
That is not an issue of best practice. It's an issue of a mandatory requirement. That's different. Best practice comes where the law doesn't cater for a certain eventuality. That's what you see when issues of best practice will probably come in. These issues are clearly spelled out by law. Now the payments that were made to you, did you retire?
Yes, I did retire.
You retired. Do you have evidence of retirement?
I had some, because when I came to the investigation, I was told that the receipts were not there.
Yes.
I contacted in fact, I also submitted the number of the guy, and I also contacted him, and he reminded me that indeed he had brought the receipts and handed it to me, and I retired.
So we need evidence of that, of retirement, of all the payments.
Yeah, just to go further, when I went to, because the investigators had asked me to go go to council and check. When I went to council, I was told that all the documentations were submitted to the commission here.
Yes. So we need that would not be correct. So we need evidence of retirement. That for the monies that were given to you, for the $235,800, we need to have the entire retirement for this.
I had submitted the retirements.
Yeah, so we need you to provide copy.
Well, I had gone to council and they said the accounts department, and they said that they had submitted all the
documents. So whoever you have submitted it to council, that person can be contacted by you and let him come and get the documents. But whichever the case is, the commission would need evidence of retirement so that we can account for the money. Now, where this says payment for the purchase of football field goalpost with their nets of 4 field with the municipality as required. Now,
sorry, can I just follow?
Yes, let's write it down.
So I'm just looking for the invoice. The invoice you are reading, it was handed to me, but I can't find it.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah. No, a copy was given to me, I believe. Okay. It was taken back. Okay. Yeah.
You done?
Yes, I've read. Yeah.
Right. Let me please have it.
Okay.
Now, do you know about the contracts committee?
Contracts committee of council, yes.
What is the role of the contracts committee?
They are supposed to give contracts, and they are supposed to make sure that contracts are completed.
Awarded as well. They determine the awarding of contracts and the procedures there. So did this follow that process?
I mean, council, no, it didn't follow it.
Why?
I cannot say, because I just made a request. So it is up to the administration to follow up and make sure that it goes to where it's supposed to go.
You knew about this before payments were made to you. You knew that the contract committee exists.
Yes.
And you knew their role is to make sure that all awards are done by the contracts committee.
Yeah.
And payments were made to you and they did not follow that process. And payments were made to you and it didn't follow that process.
Yeah.
And you didn't think it is proper to make sure, as someone who has the oversight function, to make sure that they follow the process.
Like I mentioned, I make the request. It is not up to me to make sure it follows the procedure.
I know that.
Yes.
I know.
So I just want that to be.
No,
yes.
Yeah. And I had told you the responsibilities of the people that are supposed to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that the due process is followed. Their responsibility when they come while you are sitting down, they will ask questions as well.
No.
But you also have an overriding function as a councillor.
Yeah.
So if things are wrong, they are wrong. Even if it happens to you, even if payments are made to you directly and you know it didn't follow due process, should you have said this didn't follow due process? I just want to hear your honest opinion. Whether you think it's okay, as long as payments are made to you, but they didn't follow due process, it's okay. It's not my responsibility, it's their responsibility. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, in hindsight, if it was, because like I mentioned,
Yes.
this is why, for example, I have been an advocate that we need to have trainings.
Yes.
For example, because most of these things that I am reading here,
Yes.
I personally didn't know a lot of.
Yes.
And if, for example, today I was asked to do these things, I would have said that I believe it needs to go through the conduct.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
What I want to have is the procedures were not followed and it should have been followed. Now, if your argument is I didn't know earlier, that's a different argument altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But if the argument is that it's not my responsibility, then that would be an issue because everybody will just ask a simple question. Then what is your responsibility? Is it, if it is to your advantage, then I don't care whether
No. My responsibility is to make sure that what the people are asking for, they get it.
Yes.
And that is for me, that was paramount.
And they
But
get
like
it,
I said,
they get it properly in the right manner.
they got it.
In the right
And also, like I said, if, for example, there were lapses in the process, I believe that there were people who were responsible for that.
Let me tell you why it is important.
Mm-hmm.
The one of the fundamentals of procurement
Mm-hmm.
regulations is value for money. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
What is value for money?
To make sure that what you're paying for is the right gets you the right value.
The right price. You're not being overcharged, purchasing goods that are substandard. Now, have you achieved value for money in this?
Oh, yes.
How do you know?
Because I had made other inquiries around town, and when I checked it out, George was the cheapest.
Where's evidence of that? That's called market listing. Where's the evidence of that?
No, I don't have that here.
So how would we know?
I mean, we can also check the market price,
Mr. Bojang.
Yeah.
Mr. Bojang, our institutions don't work that way. They work with documentary evidence.
Which is right.
Yes, this you and I know and will agree on. Our institutions cannot work in vacuum. So you have one paper sheet you said is an invoice, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
but the minimum requirement, even if it's an RFQ, says 3 quotations. Where are the other 2?
Mm-hmm.
To compare and to know that you're not overpaying.
Okay.
So you don't have the other 2. So you see why I'm saying that there's no evidence of value for money?
A little bit tough, but I do get your point.
You may have acted genuinely,
yes,
but you haven't achieved value for money because you haven't followed procedure.
Personally, I think I achieved value for money based on the fact that when I checked other prices and other suppliers, I realized that he was cheaper. And when you look at the price of because, for example, in Talinding, it was 3 goalposts and not 1 because it was for the buffer zone. You look at
Yes, so we would not know. That's the issue. We would not know without the way you've had this invoice. We have had other 2, for instance. I'm just saying, even regarding the fact that procedures were not followed, you have one invoice and you go by that invoice, and so therefore there's no competition. There's no fair market competition for other competitors who may have supplied you may have contracted for this.
Reasonable.
You get the point.
Reasonable.
And so because of that, value for money cannot be achieved. There is no healthy competition. Because remember, it's public funds.
Yeah.
And so for every Gambian who pays tax has the right to have a fair competition.
Oh yeah.
And so if you deny them, it's a violation of the act and the regulation. Do you understand? Correct? We agree?
I wouldn't want to say.
Is it difficult to agree?
No. You also, since I've been here,
yes.
Whenever I agree, I say I agree. Yes. But I also don't want to agree on something that I know that
but
I have.
When they are obvious, when the law says you must have value for money? If you
I don't believe I had value for money, to be honest.
individual,
Huh?
But
No, because I had consulted others
but
also.
evidence is not there.
Here, yes.
Yes. Now, please to the next voucher.
Which one, please?
The next voucher you have. Yeah, just pick the next voucher you have.
Oh yeah.
For instance,
The one I have, I think we have already dealt with this one.
So we have PV 0985 we've already dealt with. So the next one would be PV 210783 in relation to $150,000.
Give me
150.
Yes.
Yes. What is that payment about?
This was also for the second phase of the goalpost rehabilitation project that we did.
The second phase.
Yes.
And did you purchase? You requested for?
I requested. Yeah. All I do is request. I request.
It was paid to you?
Yeah.
And you didn't tell them to follow procurement regulations?
No, I did not.
Why? Is there any reason?
Like I mentioned, I requested, and I said, in hindsight, if it was today, I would have asked them to follow.
You would have asked them to follow the process. If councillors are elected or nominated, it is expected that they would familiarize themselves with the relevant regulation.
Right.
So, if they do not familiarize themselves with the relevant regulation, then they have themselves to blame. Then they have themselves to blame.
Not really, because for example, nobody is born a counselor, nobody is born a leader, and you have to go through trainings and you have to go through empowerment and support. And like I mentioned, I've been an advocate for such because I do believe in knowledge sharing, and I do believe in making sure that everybody is up to par.
Yeah.
So when we came to council, and luckily, for example, the clerk of council has been so supportive and helpful, and would take us through trainings, or we will get people to come in and train us. But for example, even if I read the financial manual, for example, if I don't get an expert opinion on it, it will be difficult to understand all the basis of it. So yeah, so yeah.
But some things are basic. For instance, the existence of a contracts committee is
which is right. Which is right.
It's 101. The existence of a procurement unit is 101.
Which is right.
Every councillor knows that procurement has to pass through.
Yes.
Procurement. So if it is bypassed, then what would be the excuse?
No, that will be a procedural flaw.
Yes.
But that will not be my fault again.
No. See, it will be the fault of the approving authorities.
Yeah.
It will also be your fault as having an oversight function over those approving authorities.
But also, council, I genuinely like to know. Yes. And this is not to, but I just want to know, is it illegal for councillors to be paid, for example, and this is just for the purpose of education? Because I have 2 or 3 years to go again at council, and it will be important to know what the law says about it.
Yes. Now, for every payment that is not in line with the financial manual, would not be.
But is it like stipulatedly said that councillors cannot be paid?
Like I said to you, the law does not operate that way. The law cannot tell you that you cannot pay Amadou, Peter, Paul, Sam, and the list goes on. The law gives authority. And whosoever is not in that list, then you're not deemed to have authority. You understand?
But it can be contested.
The powers given to the CEO will not say that Councillor A, Y, B, and C does have those powers. Okay. Tell you the powers are powers of the CEO. And it stops there. If it didn't confer certain powers authority to an individual, then you don't have.
Which is reasonable.
Yes, you don't have. So it either confers authority to you or it does not. Do you understand? Let me give you an example. If you go to the financial manual, it tells you with respect to control of expenditure, page 35. It says the Director of Finance is directly responsible for control of expenditure.
Is it possible to keep this after the council, the session?
Maybe you can.
Okay.
It tells you the Director of Finance is directly responsible.
Which number, please?
Page 35. 35. The Director of Finance is directly responsible for control of expenditure. If it tells you that, it would not tell you that the Deputy Director of Finance is not responsible, the clerk is not responsible, the 53 councillors are not responsible. It just tells you has power to do one. So that's how it works. Now, the other voucher you have, the third one,
Yeah.
I appreciate Mr. Bojang on the statement you made when you said, on hindsight, you would not have accepted the payments made. And I do believe that it is also the responsibility of the ministry to make sure that councillors elected, because they also have an oversight for the councils, for them to be aware of the documents that are so fundamental in making sure that they do their business in accordance with those laws.
Yeah.
Right? So it is important where you were not aware, because I do believe that even if you had had training, you had not had proper training in these instruments that would help guide you to make decisions.
Yeah.
And that is why so many decisions were made. They were not made in accordance with the law. So if you are ignorant, of course you will make mistakes. And that we are cognizant of.
Yeah.
But what is important is to admit where on high side you would have followed due process. So we should be we should avert our minds to the fact that we may not know everything.
Exactly.
But when it's across to us that this is how it ought to have been, we appreciate the fact that, yes, we may not know at that time, but we have humbled ourselves to understand and appreciate that, this is how it ought to have been. And we take you from there on and move on.
Yeah.
To make things better. Because you may not have the time to read all of this and to be able to comply. But there are basic things that will make your work easier in terms of making sure that you know exactly what your committees stand for and how to channel what you channel. Because if you see there is so much back and forth in terms of having to reconcile your revenues, this is the problem. The funding you support, how you need to channel those funding so that at the end of the day, when there is accountability, you are able to say, okay, we channeled this through this process and we were able to account for this funds, even though, you understand, council has not spent. But there are even laws saying, even if council is not putting money, but if you partner with council, you must account for it. This is just to show and to be clear as to what you have benefited. And this is pursuant to helping you make further decisions in your policy.
I agree.
As to the challenges that you have in dealing with public institutions, private sponsors, and all that stuff. In order for you to be able to cope corruption and be able to deliver the service as per your mandate.
Yeah.
Right?
Manager, not to, but I just want to add something. And in fact,
not add something. Wait for him to ask the question. No, you will have time because we have asked you documents to present. Cancel, we don't have time. Cancel, please.
Yes.
We will give you time.
No problem.
The third voucher you have?
Which one, please?
PB 2211994. 10,000 was paid to you.
Yeah.
What was it for?
This one was based on, because we also give a lot of support to community groups and also youth football teams groups. So they had come to council to seek support, that they had a football final that they needed support. So, but they came without any documentation. And I told them that the process here is that you have to write so that it's in record, and that, I have to request. And when I request, then I'll have to, give the support. So my task was that I wanted to do the presentation at the final itself. So that was why I requested for this 10,000.
Now, in your statement, you said that the payments were for delivery it was delivered to Bruford Youth as council's contribution. Is Bruford on the KMC?
Bruford is not on the KMC, but a lot of people come to KMC to ask for support, because I believe, one, we are the cosmopolitan and we are more economically vibrant than a lot of other regions. So we are.
Bruford is on the which?
West Coast.
Are you more economically vibrant?
Well, it's a question, but when you look at the budgets,
data should be there.
Well, but that is up to the, yes. But for example, I know how much we make. I cannot speak for Wilkama Area Council. But for example,
my worry is, do you have enough to give outside?
We will never have enough.
Yeah, but you don't.
But I do believe that everybody who pays tax in KMC came from somewhere else. And I do believe that in as much as that our resources are for the people of KMC, but in a general perspective,
as council is primarily for the people living in KMC. Correct?
Right.
Yes. But primarily for the people living in KMC. So I think maybe the direction of expenditures of monies made or monies of council should be primarily for the residents of KMC. I'm not saying you may not have, but that should be the primary goal.
Which I do agree, and I believe the primary. This is why, in fact, some of the projects that we come with, for example, we say that these are directly for young people of KMC. But sometimes when you look at support, and I like to discuss this at length, most of the time when I say that majority of taxpayers within KMC do not even live in KMC. For example, our markets, the women that pay rates most of the time in our markets come from West Coast region.
Do you have the data?
Majority of our market women are from the West Coast region.
Do you have the data?
I don't have the data, but I can say that with utmost confidence.
No, but it's difficult. The issue is here. It is.
No, but council,
it's a public.
Yeah, but let me help with something. Yeah.
You have to account for the monies that you expend. And you know that there are so many challenges in KMC. So before you support another municipality, you understand? There is demarcation. He is asking you the issue of data. It is important for you to know, you understand, the statistics and the information that you have. And this is where your coordination and information sharing becomes important. Because if you feel that you need to support another municipality, you need to give them the information so that they can work on their own issues.
Yes, we used to have a group which has not been very active since we came into the new town. But the NYC used to bring us youth councillors from all the regions together.
So the data, it's important for you to be able to say what you are saying. So you may proceed.
Okay.
The $10,000 is how did you spend this money?
It was in a check. I cashed it and I went to the football field and handed it to the team at the finals.
Okay.
Our contribution.
Is there any retirement?
They had written a letter. I remember to council to acknowledge and thank us.
Do you have the letter?
I'll have to check if I have
the letter.
Yeah, because I had submitted the letter.
Okay. So do you have a copy of the letter?
Not yet.
Can you present the letter?
I will do my best.
Please write it down.
No.
Okay. 26,500 was paid to you, voucher number 202018. And then PV 201620, $15,000 is, I believe.
Yes.
Have you had the voucher?
This one was when this one we had already dealt with it. That's the 15,000, which was the donation to the St. John School for the Deaf. So you said yes, I retired it. Like I mentioned, it's with Bahum. So you had mentioned that I should contact Bahum to furnish us with it.
Yes. So please let me have all the vouchers and kindly turn to page 52 of the financial manual in relation to impress and petty cash.
Yeah, this one. This one. No, he said I should come to page 52.
Now, this is the section that talks about how cash can be in the hands of officers of council. It says serving over interest. If it is necessary for any officer of council to have money at his or her disposal for disbursement and public service, for which the usual pre-authorization procedures cannot apply.
Where are you reading this, if you don't mind?
The financial manual, chapter 7, 52, 52.
Okay, I'm
Are you there?
sorry. Yes. Okay.
If it is necessary for any officer of council to have money at his or her disposal for disbursement on public service for which the usual pre-authorization procedures cannot apply, such officer may be given an imprest. All imprest must be authorized by the CEO, who will prescribe the terms and conditions under which imprest may be approved. Now, the procedure is as follows: 701. All requests for imprest should be made on an application for an imprest and approved by the chief executive or, in his absence, his deputy. 2. The council should maintain an imprest ledger in which will be recorded all the imprest. 3. When an imprest is approved, a payment voucher will be raised by finance staff in the name of the imprest holder for the approved amount. The payment is posted to the cash book and imprest ledger while the rest of the payment process is followed. 4. Officers entrusted with the imprest will be held responsible for all money advanced to them until such a time it has been properly accounted for. 5. All imprest must be retired or repaid on or before the last day specified by the chief executive when authorizing the imprest. When the imprest is being retired or embossed, relevant receipts and invoices must be submitted to the senior accounts clerk, who will then prepare a payment voucher, the total amount expended. Any cash refund paid by the imprest holder at retirement should be receipted. The receipt is used to debit the cash book and credit the imprest ledger. No imprest will be issued as 9 to any employee whose name a previous imprest is still outstanding. 10. All imprest must be retired on or before the last day of the financial year. 11. Imprest should be repaid when no longer required or reduced when found to be excessive. So again, this, if any officer of council is to be given money, it has to be in this format. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And there's retirement as well. And there's a procedure for retirement, which we don't have evidence of that.
I had submitted all receipts because I remember George gave me 3 receipts, in fact.
Yes.
And because 2 were for the goalposts that he had made, and the other receipt was from number 1 sports shop for the nets.
Now,
and when he brought that, I had stapled them together and I had submitted them at the.
Now, how would we reconcile 4, the requirement with the procedure 4, subsection 4, which says officers entrusted with imprest will be held responsible for all monies advanced to them until such time it has been properly accounted.
Yes, I was responsible for the cash and I made sure that the service was delivered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we need to have the evidence.
Yeah, but
Evidence of retirement.
Yeah, but council, nobody in KMC will say that they have not seen the work we have done with the goalpost project.
No, forget about the work.
No, but
I myself don't doubt the work.
Yes.
Mr. Bojang. I myself don't have any reason to doubt that you may even have put in your own money.
Exactly.
But
because council didn't pay my fare.
I'm even here for that. I don't want what I think again would not be relevant. Evidence is what we work with.
Yeah.
Now we need to see evidence of the.
I will have to go back to the accounts department, ask them once more. But because the first time I asked them, they had told me that they submitted all the receipts.
Submitted to the accounts department.
I remember I submitted it to the payout cashier department.
What is the name of the person?
No, I don't remember who. It's either Uncle Sabali or Isandao. But I remember I had
either Sabali or
Isandao.
Okay, please contact these people.
Okay, I will.
For the retirement of all these monies, and so that we take it up from there.
No problem.
It cannot be established that the responsibility will be on you.
No problem.
To pay back these monies.
No. We will ascertain that it was there because it was indeed there.
Any questions? Is that a no? No question. Now the last issue, until you bring the retirement, is in relation to your additional statement of the please have a copy of the additional statement. Yes, of the 10th of October 2024. Do you have a copy?
Who, me?
Yeah, do you have a copy?
I think I had a copy. Let me see. Give me a minute. No, the one I have is 18th July.
18th July.
Yes.
That is your statement.
Yes, I think I have the 10th October one. Yes, it's here.
Just one question. Are payments made to councillors for issues regarding in consideration of Tobaski operating?
Are payments made to councillors in consideration of Tobaski and Corrected? No.
Is the answer no?
Yes.
Would you be surprised to see minutes of meetings in relation to council minutes of meetings where the issue of Tobaski and Corrected has been raised as the reason for the payment of honorary?
I would like to see them. Yeah.
Right. Mr. Bojang, thank you so much. When you come back tomorrow, or how many days do you need for documents that you?
Yes, I will have to check, but tomorrow I also have other engagements, unfortunately, because I didn't know I would spend this long here.
Chance. Give you time to come back. So you'll on or before next week, Tuesday, get the documents so we can get done with your evidence.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Is that all?
Yes, that's all. Please.
Yes, but Madam Chair, I would also want you to be a bit considerate with me because I've been coming here for 4 days and unfortunately there have been electricity issues.
Yes.
I do understand that it is not the fault of the council, the commission, but I had also put other issues that are also very prioritized in my list on the aside. And unfortunately, when I come, we don't sit. Yes. So I'd also like to just indulge. If, for example, I do know you are not giving me options or choices, but just to also be considered.
That is noted.
Thank you so much.
Any other?
That's fine. So when you come back, we will show you the minutes of council in relation to the subject of the order.
Okay. Thank you.
So did you note that it's next week Tuesday that you will bring
next week Tuesday?
Yes, next
Okay, let me write it down, please.
Please write it down. We may rise.